You don't go from scoring a hat trick against Manchester City in a Champions League to then going cold.
Let's talk about that Madrid derby.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to get into.
I did not want. I was really hoping for something else.
I love it. They played each other twice so far this season. Both have been draws, 1-1 draws. It's a street fight when you're playing against Atlético Madrid, and now over 2 legs. It's going to be really tasty. Kylian Mbappé, though, came out and said he would prefer Atléti just because they didn't have to travel. They could stay in the same city. So he got what he wanted. I love this for a lot of different reasons. If any team I think that could slow down Real Madrid, this is the one. I think Atléti could be the one that just are going to take, even if Madrid gets through, they're going to take chunks out of Real Madrid along the way. And that could, deter them from potentially going on all the way.
At that same time where Kylian Mbappé say, hey, I'd rather take on Atlético Madrid, he said, hey, I'd rather stay local but have a tougher matchup. So that to me signaled that he thinks that Atlético Madrid was going to be the tougher opponent of the two between them or Leverkusen.
Yes. Well, in watching the match this season between Leverkusen and Atlético Madrid, I think Leverkusen were the better side. And they went down a man, and then the tie kind of changed. But for me, probably Leverkusen is a better team from top to bottom. Atlético Madrid have, I think, maybe stronger weapons when you're talking about Griezmann and Julián Alvarez and Sorloth coming off the bench. I think this tie is going to be the best of this round. In the round of 16,
I don't know if it's going to be the most aesthetically pleasing, right? Because they're just going to try to stifle Madrid's
But in
playing.
terms of
But in terms of the star power, and,
the
what's
fight,
at stake? Yeah, I agree.
A derby, let's go.
And it's interesting when you talk about Kylian Mbappé wanting the tougher road. I think a lot of it is just built off his legacy and coming off the hat trick that he just had with Manchester City. Remember the roads that Real Madrid have gone through 3 years ago of having to beat all these and slaying all these giants en route to a Champions League Cup win. You would expect Kylian Mbappé wants that same route. And you're going through Manchester City first, and then Atlético Madrid, and then potentially Arsenal after that, heading into the semifinals. It shapes up for a pretty daunting road for Real Madrid. But if we know Real Madrid, they're built for the task in the Champions League.
In the last game in the Madrid derby, Kylian Mbappé did score. So he already has, a little feel for how to get past Atléti. Heartbreaking for Atléti.
They haven't forgot about it at all. I mean, it's hard to, but it's when you talk about this rivalry and in the Champions League and the history, these are the 2 moments that stand out for better or for worse on both sides. And Atléti trying to get their revenge. It's not a final, but an opportunity here to try and beat Real Madrid at their own tournament.
Listen, 3 certainties in life: death, taxes, and Real Madrid winning in finals. It's just what they do. It can be Atléti, it can be anybody else, doesn't matter.
And will Real Madrid win again this year? I mean, they did it last year without Mbappé. They've got Kylian Mbappé this year. For his legacy at a team like Real Madrid, who's got so many great players in history to already think about, do you feel like a UCL title is what he needs to cement his legacy? Or do you feel like he could get away with winning other things and
No.
It has to be a Champions League title under his belt?
You move to Real Madrid to win the Champions League. That's why you move to Real Madrid. To play at the biggest club, the most illustrious club, silverware, and to win the Ballon d'Or in the process.
Yep.
To cement himself as the best player on the planet. That's why Kylian Mbappé went to the Champions League winning Real Madrid side that already featured Vinny Jr. and Jude Bellingham and Rodrigo. And now they're seeing the quality that Kylian Mbappé has. He finally is coming out of his shell. It's finally clicking. And you can see there's no opposition within the team. You might feel the ego, you might feel Vinny Jr. saying, hey, I'm gonna be a little bit more selfish. I'm not gonna allow you to shine. Hey, this is my team. Or Jude Bellingham. That's not the case.
I love that he's settling in, and he's only got 28 goals so far in his first ever season. You can see the stat right here. I mean, even Cristiano Ronaldo, Ruud van Nistelrooy, R9 Ronaldo, Raul, these is the first time in their first season. He's going to surpass that. He's going to break that record for sure in his first. There's no question. They've got so many games left. He might even do it in the next two or 3 weeks. He's been so good.
Do you feel like for Real Madrid to continue succeeding, it's going to rely a lot on Kylian Mbappé still being in this form? Or do you think that he maybe could take a dip here or there and they still succeed?
You don't go from scoring a hat trick against Manchester City in a Champions League to then going cold. the idea is it's taken this time for Kylian Mbappé to get going again, to feeling good like himself, to now let's see the team flourish. And Vinny Jr., he's going to have his days too, where he's going to be the brightest star. Rodrigo will have his days.
He's been unbelievable.
And then Jude Bellingham continuing to do the work from box to box. I think that's his task now, is making sure that the team is compact and complete from box to box, because he's got to do all the dirty work, and he's absolutely fine with doing all the dirty work if the team wins. I think that's the best part about Jude Bellingham, is he's saying, I'll do whatever the team needs for us to win. He's selfless, and that's what you need. You need the top players to be selfless, and I think the same thing goes for Mbappé and Vinny and Rodrigo, to be able to share in those moments. But we're seeing that Kylian Mbappé was brought there to do exactly that and score goals. I think he's a better finisher than Vinny Jr., which is why you're seeing him thrive right now.
Now, the two of you, we wanted the Leverkusen matchup. You guys wanted the Atlético Madrid matchup, as did Kylian Mbappé. Because you guys feel like Atlético Madrid, if anyone is going to shut down Real Madrid, it could be Atlético Madrid.
When I think about Atleti, I think about being difficult to play against. So, and sometimes they're difficult to watch because of that, but they're really effective at stopping the ball, being hard to break between the lines. They're not afraid to kick you, right? And so these are going to be 2 long games for Real Madrid, and they're going to have to suffer, though Carlo Ancelotti, the manager of Real Madrid, says that his team knows how to suffer, and that's why I think they're one of the most successful
You think they're going to
teams of all
suffer
time.
versus Atletico?
They're 100% going to suffer. They're going to have some of the ball, but Atleti just pushes you into places. They're totally cool with that. Both of these teams are good at suffering, and so if you're going to run into, I feel like if Real Madrid was playing anybody else, they'd probably sit in more of a low block, or Bayer Leverkusen. I would really curious to see how they were going to set up over 2 legs against Bayer Leverkusen.
I don't think
You don't see them
Atletico Madrid
suffering
are
as much?
going to be putting a lot of pressure on Real Madrid to make them suffer. They are a different team. It's not the typical Atletico Madrid that we've seen over the past couple of seasons, where they just sit back in a low block, they fight, they tire you out, and then they look to counter, they look for a set piece. They have Julián Alvarez now. That's a game changer. Griezmann, Julián Alvarez, and Sorloth. You can play them together. Sorloth can also come into the team and start, but there's options. They didn't have attacking options before, but Julián Alvarez has been an absolute game changer for Atletico Madrid, because he can open up. He's very good at taking shots from outside the box, making runs in behind. He's been terrorizing teams, and I think that's been such a dynamic player that needed to be added to this roster, and Simeone now has his guy.
No, I agree with you. I think Alvarez has been an incredible add, and I think Man City might miss Julián Alvarez's influence, but that's a conversation for another time. One of my concerns for Atleti is their schedule. They have Barcelona in the Copa del Rey semifinals, which is a 2-legged thing, and then they also play Barcelona in the league. So they play against Barcelona, very good Barcelona, 3 times over the next 5 or 6 weeks. Oh, and hey, by the way, crunched in that, you got to play Real Madrid twice in the Champions League. So I'm very curious as to how they're going to balance their squad. Do they have enough to compete in the Copa del Rey, to remain competitive in La Liga, and then still have the bite to make sure that they're as competitive as possible against Real Madrid? That's a big ask for a team that maybe they have some depth, but I don't know if they have the depth to be successful in all 3 of those competitions. So those are questions for Diego Simeone.
If you're Atleti, which competition do
You want to stick it to Real
prioritize?
Madrid? You want 1,000% stick it to Real Madrid. So you're going all in on that one for sure. And Copa del Rey, I think you leave that for another season.